Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of April. It's no April Fool's joke. The Bombers are back. For how long? For how long, we ask. All right, we've titled this episode, The Bombers Take Flight. The big question is, have they really? Or is it all just a flash in the pan? We'll discuss that tonight. We'll also bring on Dan Brodie shortly, who will discuss his new album that he's just released and a couple of singles. So that'll be good to have Dan on for a quick chat. But here we go. We kick it off with this one.
See the Bombers fly up to win the premiership flag. The Cowboys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the Bombers fly up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the Bombers fly up.
Here we go. The Bombers fly up. Welcome back, Lovey.
Geez, I tell you what, I can't work out if this smells like a very impromptu potty or if it's an utter stitch up. But
no, not at all.
It's been a long time. Been a long time since we've been able to talk any positive thoughts about Essendon, which is good. Look, we beat a pretty, I thought, underwhelming St Kilda, to be honest. I mean, for a team that wants to play top six football, it was nice to see that we showed the flaws of that team, and it was nice to see Ross the Boss. Ross the Boss has got a pretty good record against Essendon over the years, so to get one over that bastard was pretty good. But yeah, we're going okay. We've got Port this weekend coming up. Tough ass, but Port's not unbeatable by any stretch. If we're genuine and we want to we have another podcast next week with Bombers taking further flight. Then we beat Port Adelaide, and then absolute. I'll tell you what, mate. If it happens, not just this lid, but the whole Essendon lid, the whole of the suburb, the lid will come off. It's time.
I think you might be right, mate. It's look, it has to be more exciting than it was last year. We at this stage, the Bombers flying up. Let's see how long we can leave it like that.
It was. The other thing I'll say is it was nice. It was good for Jade Gresham too. You know, he's. I've heard good reports about him in the club. Just works hard, works his butt off basically. Yep. And you know, he's obviously a very selfless footballer. I don't think St Kilda got the best out of him. I hope we do. And it was just nice for him, I reckon, too, just to say, "Hey, boys, you're not that good."
Yeah. Well, we welcome back the captain tonight. One man that's is covered himself in a little bit of red and black tonight. See if you can spot it, Lovey. Bring him up, Cuz. Welcome back. It's going to be a fun.
For one, you both know I'm not the captain. I'm not even the lieutenant. I might be like a little bit of private or maybe sergeant at best. Lovely to see both your smiling faces. And like Alan, I love the Bombers, but I'll just park it for another week. I actually went to the game on Saturday night, and look, we found a way to win, and there was a lot of positives out of it. Like I thought Jones did some good things. Cox looks like he's set in a position now, sort of wing and back flank. Caldwell was good. Parrish will get better for the run. Still got Ridley to come in. Look, we're far from perfect, but as Lovey said, big game this week against a side who is sort of trying to find their identity a bit, and they consider themselves contenders. If we think we're contenders, we need to beat them over there.
First of all, I think Glenn's more St Kilda than Essendon tonight, Aaron, if you know what I mean. The fact that Brisbane and Collingwood, though, really battling, I'm not saying anything to do with the premiership. I'm talking about like top 8 chances and things like that. Early doors, it looks like it's a very open comp, which is good. And it's good for sides like Essendon. And, you know, Freo's obviously flourishing pretty well. Obviously, the two Sydney teams are going all right, but round 4, we'll be right. Or round I tell you what, I'm sick of that. Don't do that concept ever again. It's worse than AFLX round 0. But yeah, it's just good that it feels like for now it's a really open competition. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Speaking of open competitions, obviously no footy in Melbourne this weekend. It's the birth and the kickoff of local footy again. Great to see. Cuz, you've jumped ship and you're on another boat for this year. Tell us a little bit about the preparations, mate. Have you
I'm honoured to be part of the coaching panel in this very small role, working with a good friend of the show and a regular guest, Hayden Stanton, down with the Hampton Park Redbacks, so Division 2 of the Southern Footy League. So it's good to be involved again. And yeah, it's good to be back being able to play and be involved at local footy level. It fills in your Tuesday and Thursday nights, and there's a lot of clubs across the state that will hopefully have good games and good wins and kicking off their seasons this Saturday.
Can I just quickly ask? Can I ask for a quick correction on that?
Yeah.
You just said it'd be good to be able to play again. Do you mean coach?
I'd love to play again. I'm not saying I'm going to play again. I would love to be able to play again.
No. I think you meant
in the concept there. Yes, I probably slip of the tongue, Alan. I haven't been on the potty for a while, mate. Bit out of practice. Apologise.
Just clarifying that you're not actually playing as a gang coach. Okay.
We were worried the number 56 was going to come back with a vengeance.
Oh my God.
Just promise me one thing, Cuz. This show will get the exclusive and the first to know that if you pull on the boots again at any stage, even for
we'll
a
be
quarter,
there.
We've got to know because
God.
the cameras will be flocked straight to Redback Park.
I don't know about cameras, mate. You might get one person with an iPhone. I don't know about cameras, but if I do at any stage for whatever the reason might be, you will definitely get the exclusive, mate.
So everyone thought Nathan Buckley got a raw deal with all the camera work when he did his hammy last year. You get twice as much, Cuz. Trust me, we'll organise something. We know people.
I reckon we're more chance of getting the big H standing on the ground than we are Cuz, I reckon.
Well, if the great man, and as H, he has been on he will get on the show again. He loves to just say how good he is with the left foot, and he often tells the players that how good it'd be if they were leading to him. So interesting to sort of see what goes on.
Yeah. All right, boys. It's round 4. I think we're up to. Let's not work out which round we're really in, but I think it's 4 by now. Yeah, look, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but plenty of the boys, including yourselves, Wolfie, John Wordfine, Dave Cosma, the end, Travis Price is another artist who's all Mad Bombers. I've met plenty of Bombers, and they're all called Mad Bombers, like we all are Mad Demons or Mad Tigers, if we really follow our club properly. But boys, it must be just a little sense of uplift for sure. I mean, great to have a bit of the Essendon, what's it called now? The Essendon what?
Oh, fuck.
Don't say it. It's become the new word, hasn't it? The double E. The Essendon.
It's concerning when they name your style of play and all that now, and what they want from an Essendon group. But I think, largely, I think they came out and tried to give us something. It's better than the Don the Sash campaign, in my opinion. Let's go with it.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes went well.
Yes. Berkey, is it safe to listen yet? Have you finished with the irrelevance? Well, interesting you bring that up, Berkey, because
says the bloke who got done by like a dinner the other day. So well done.
Yeah, they've tripped over the line, the Pies, and finally got one on the board at least. But anyway, we'll see what happens in this week. Gather round, everyone in Adelaide. Interesting concept, boys. Second year in. What's your thoughts on the gather round? Obviously, Adelaide Oval's going to cop a bit of a hiding. But I'm generally excited about being able to spend 2 weeks in Adelaide over there, beating Port and hopefully thumping Adelaide.
So my first question to you, mate, if you're enjoying that, what's to do in Adelaide and in South Australia in that spare time in between? You can spend 3 days and you're done. Seriously, that joint's an absolute hole. Sorry to everyone that's listening to this on South Australia, but shut up. You gave us kick a Vic. I'm just giving you what you deserve after 35 years of stupidity. So, gather round. I don't like it. I don't like it because it's another NRL pretendy. We're trying to catch up concept we just don't need. If you want to hold football in one particular state for a weekend, I get it. I understand, and it's going to local grounds. Nice. Don't have to give it anything. Don't have to call it anything. It's false, stupid marketing that we all seem to fall into these days. And why is it in South Australia again? So why isn't it in WA this year? Or why isn't it in, if they keep banging on about they want to develop football in other states, why isn't it in New South Wales or Queensland this year? Well, I don't get it. And you know what would have been perfect? They just signed off on the whole Tasmanian thing. Why don't you just host all 9 games across the 3 grounds that they can use in Tasmania and go from there? You're sacrificing enough money as it is with the crowds. You might as well have sent it to Tassie this year and really ramp up that Tassie Devils thing if you're going to do it. You don't need to call it gather around. We're just trying to pretend we're the NRL again. I mean, what a farce that is. Yeah. And it's no different to trying to catch up with what they were doing in Vegas. So let's have a round 0 that means absolutely sweet fuck all to everyone. So, no, I don't like it.
Yeah, look, I haven't got too much to say on it personally. I think it's second year in. I believe it was a good experience for anyone that went over there and got amongst it and got part of it. My son Nick's been over there all week. I reckon he's found every winery in South Australia at the moment to enjoy the fruits of. So that is a good part of South Australia for sure.
That's the 3 days you spend just in the wineries.
Yeah, but that's the whole reason they're running double headers, mate. So you don't leave the ground and you stay there. But it's a lot of footy. Let's face it. You've really got to love your footy to get to as many games as you can. Cuz, give me your thoughts on gather round. Should it move venues each year, or should it be an Adelaide thing and we move on to giving WA something else?
Well, like Lovely touched on, if we're talking about national competition, just call it round, whatever it is, and play it in each state. But they've missed a great opportunity. Don't photocopy and do the same that the NRL does. Just call it round 5. We're going to play it in Tassie, like with what's gone on with the Jack Jumpers and the great sort of NBL sort of tournament that's happened. The last sort of 5 games of that, the finals were fantastic. We want to make it a truly national competition. We want to get it. Well, there was going to be a team in Tassie, and it should have gone there. Look, I love the concept and enjoy watching the footy, but go to Darwin or the Northern Territory, go to Tassie and really bring the game. Look, as you know, the AFL's come to a bit of fire this week for other stuff. Here's an opportunity to sort of say, okay, I like the concept of going to local grounds, as Lovey said, but don't make an Adelaide thing. If it's a national competition, make it a national thing.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, speaking of the AFL being up to other things, let's go with second parts.
What's gonna make our friend Lovey mad today? Lovey loses it. Lovey loses it. Lovey loses it. Yeah.
You can't help but smile.
That last one's very sinister. That last photo, mate's very sinister.
With good reason. I kind of just started before, but I don't give a fuck. I think I was very, very despondent and disgusted with the AFL. And, they're in a mess when the media, on one hand, a few days before that, really jumping up and down and criticising the AFL for the way they handle the drugs policies and all the rest of it. And then just like a malfunctioning fucking tractor, they start backtracking on all of their comments at the start of the week around it, because you get some of these sympathiser bullshit artists that jump on and say, "Hey, what about the welfare of the player?" I'm sorry, but when are we going to stop pandering to? And this is the AFL. When are we going to stop pandering to little interest groups that say, "Well, he got into drugs, but guess what? He made a decision." He made a decision. The other thing I really don't like, and again, it's just, Aaron, you're an expert on media stuff. Well, you've got some pretty good media background. How can we actually stop or boycott beyond stop watching their shows? How do you actually boycott the likes of Caroline Wilson? How do you actually boycott the likes of Sam McClure? How do you boycott people that just absolutely write up disgraceful trash about, I'm talking about the Brisbane Lions saga, right? So they didn't even get the city right, for starters. And it was off Big Footy. I mean, the three-legged dog up the street knows that Big Footy's the worst rumour mill going around.
Yeah.
And again, we just keep having to put up with this sort of manufactured crap.
Yep.
I'm a bit. I just don't know where to turn to trying to actually enjoy my footy anymore. I'll go to local footy this week, and I'll probably keep going to local footy. My boy will play it. I actually don't want to go to AFL games anymore. I follow Essendon. I get memberships only because I know it helps the club a bit, but. I just don't know where to turn to actually find decent footy stuff, games themselves. I think the AFL is just not in a very healthy position right now, despite what it says with its bottom line. Right? And it's just media TV rights, which is the other thing that really pissing me off, is that the next deal you will lose 50% of your free-to-air football. You're going to lose it. I mean, where the fuck are we at with all this stuff? Money's everything in the AFL, and when it suits them, they want to start putting on their little, we're good social people. We're good. We worry about cultures, and we worry about people and drugs and all the rest of it. No, you don't. You're just full of shit.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bullshit in a lot of stories that get written. The laughing stock I found the other day was I walked into a local cafe and picked up the paper, and I thought I'd picked up like the old MX. Do you remember the old MX they used to do?
Yeah.
The Herald Sun was 45 pages on a Tuesday. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, after a round of footy. So, I mean, it's about time to come back to some positive news stories. And I think, the dig in the dirt, we've got so many players in the league that we could be writing good news stories all time. The issue is what sells papers. Obviously, it's the trash in the media, right?
Yep.
But
I mean, here's my example, and I said to you backstage before off air. It's quite cosy that Dusty Martin, after that whole week of all that bullshit with the drugs that come out, and it's rumoured to be every club except Melbourne got caught this time around with all these secretive drug tests that are taken off the table. And then we worry about the fact that there's all these mystery soft tissue injuries and all the rest of it.
Yep.
And now Dusty Martin, after a hammy, all of a sudden he's available for this week. I'm not saying that that's legit. I'm not saying that's illegitimate. I'm saying this is the sort of bullshit that gets thrown around because there's zero accountability at AFL House on what they do. There's zero accountability on what the media do. And the media is terrible, not just in football, but generally for us in public. So, I don't know how you boycott things. I don't know how you stop shit journalists from getting airtime as opposed to quality journalism. But the exposure that the AFL are getting right now, it's pretty unacceptable. And to your point, Aaron, I agree. When are we going to hear about what the AFL players, for instance, do in their spare time helping out communities? When do we start seeing and hearing how AFL footballers have still put themselves through uni like any other person on the street, go out and do really good things with their trade or with their job at whether it be the stock exchange, wherever. It's just not selling papers, but they're not selling papers anyway because everyone's had enough. But then there's just this vicious circle of gutter rubbish, and it's killing our game.
Yep. Yeah, it is. I really don't know too much to say other than do exactly what you said you were going to do, Lovey, and go and follow some local footy like you have been for 20 years plus. To me, that's where the heart and soul of the AFL really still lies, and it's about time they appreciated that, because there's no doubt at the top they're kicking it in the guts and kicking the can down the road, avoiding all the hard topics. They really should have come out firm on this whole drug statement and released a proper policy. Guys, this is what we're about. I don't think we heard from anyone legitimately from the AFL, which was embarrassing.
The CEO should have apologised up front. Should have apologised and should have offered his resignation. That's exactly what should have happened. That's actual leadership.
Yeah.
They almost seem reluctant to take ownership. Look, they're humans, they make mistakes. We all get that. But their focus on the negativity, as you said about the media, Lovely, that's the same thing as well. So you watch a game of football, and even the game like Essendon St Kilda the other night, they watch that game ends, then they talk about the negative stuff from other games, like all the TV shows, footy shows this week. Jack Ginnivan, Jack's got to change his ways. They umpired to Jack poorly. Yes, she came out and said it, but it's more the pressure. Like, get on the front foot. We stuffed up. This is what we're going to do. And he just said about the grassroots thing, as it's been sad because we've all been involved in grassroots. It's just sad because that's why a lot of kids, yes, they love their team, but that's why they don't want to play the game. They go and play basketball, go and play soccer, because we don't look after our grassroots well enough, I don't think.
You know, and you're right to a point there, Cuz, and I'll pick you up on the Ginnivan thing. Lauren Kahn only spoke because there's been 24 hours prior of commentary around the fact that it was incorrect. She didn't get on the front foot on Sunday night or whenever it was, Monday night, straight away. She waited till yesterday or whenever it was and said, oh, yeah, we've listened and we agree, yeah, it was wrong. Get on the front foot. The other thing is, you talk about grassroots. The actual grassroots of the game itself is now cooked, and it's because they just want to pander to the absolute minority of people that are going, oh, we don't like the head clashes and all the rest of it. You know what? I get it. I understand it. I'll probably suffer from it with 9 concussions in my time and playing local footy, but I'll wear that rub. I'll wear that rub of the sport. That's what happened to me. Now, the thing with what was it? Peter, 2-metre Peter with his 4-week suspension. How is that absolutely considered the same way as a punch to the face that it sometimes only gets 1 or 2 weeks? You know, the rules have to be that you still need to protect both players in the contest, not just the lunatic that decides to come back into the pack and doesn't protect himself. Peter Wright should not have been suspended for protecting himself in a contest. That's where it's gone way too far. He didn't deliberately bump the bloke. The AFL Tribunal actually admitted that. They knew it. He was protecting himself. He should be entitled to do that in a contest. I would have thought that's pretty easy to decipher and understand. If you had have played the game and you hadn't legalised, you haven't gone legal speak on all this sort of rubbish. If you want to take head contact out of the sport, we're now looking at a basketball court that's 165 metres long and it's on grass.
Yep.
That's what
That's a really good point. And just the last one, I know I got Dan coming on. The thing that I watched the Brisbane and Collingwood game the other night. Now, Pendlebury is a star of the game. Don't get me wrong, but you need to have the rule black and white. If you punch, open hand, slap, whatever in the face, off the ball, no need. Just one rule.
That shouldn't have even been considered. But anyway.
Like the best thing to come out of that is Wayne Carey's disappeared for a few weeks. Boycotted the game while Big Peter, 2-metre Peter's out. So anyway, I found you something to do. In Adelaide. Not only we're going to bring him up. He's found something. What have you found, mate?
Look at
Hello. Hello.
Oh,
Lucas Cosma is in town.
Rundle Mall.
I'm down
What's
freezing the old boys off down at Glenelg. Let me give you the tip.
Glenelg or Adelaide Vegas? What the hell's going on there?
They got the old Glenelg Ferris wheel here doing a roaring trade. Been down for a few days, boys. Got down about a week ago for the Easter Classic basketball tournament, which they hold here annually, which is a massive tournament. So
How'd you go, mate?
Actually, the kids did okay. Charlie, my boy, came away with a grand final victory. And
Beautiful.
my daughter made the semi-finals. They couldn't quite get the job done, unfortunately. But it's an incredible event. They have literally about 560 teams. So you can imagine, that many teams multiplied by about 8 players, that a couple of parents and a couple of siblings. It's a massive injection in the local economy. My understanding is that they tried to coordinate gather round to happen that weekend this year, but literally due to the lack of accommodation because of that tournament, they kept gather round for this coming weekend. So, yeah, they do that event really, really well. And with gather round coming up, there's a lot of promotion. There's a lot of talk and colours. We took a drive to the city last night. There's a lot happening in there. Adelaide Oval looks amazing. It's an amazing venue. It's an amazing precinct down there. So, look, they do it well. We stole the GP from them many years ago, but we've got to give it to them. They can still put on a decent event here in South Oz.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Dave. So 2 things come to mind straight away. Now, I've just calculated it. You said 852 or 580 teams, was it?
550. I did the maths too, but yeah, what do you come up with? 550 teams.
So 550 teams. I'm going to say times. Let's say it's 15 people per team that travels, right? Just 15 people. So 550 teams times 15 people. It doesn't come up with pi squared. What the hell's going on here? Times 15.
Someone didn't go to
Jesus
parade.
Christ. Okay, so they've had 8,250 people come through in Adelaide.
Mate, I reckon you could just about double that because I reckon your maths is a bit out, but it is full on. If you can imagine, it's just crazy the amount of courts and referees, and it's just an incredible event the way that they manage it. And really, like clockwork, faultless. Like we had no issues. This is the 4th year we've come and been a part of it, and it's just a really, really well run event. And the kids have a great time. You get a good chance to sort of go away and bond with your team and all that sort of thing. And you get to hang out at, this has been sort of our location, Glenelg. We like hanging down here. It's a really nice part of the world. I'm sure you've been. It's a good thing to be part of.
Glenelg's my favourite footy team. So go up the Tigers. Glenelg's within 5 k's of the Adelaide CBD, which is great because otherwise you would have been staying in the desert. The only other concern I've got is that all that lighting that's there behind you, are all the residents? Have the residents still got their own electricity and the like? Are they still being powered, or has it just all been blown into that little spot there?
Well, I think since Warren Treadray retired, he pedals a big bike just down on the foreshore that powers the fluoros and the economy down here.
Between his quads and his schnoz, he could too.
Did you get a chance, Dave, to provide some entertainment for the basketball, mate? Well, I'm sure they'd appreciate your talent and the opportunity maybe to sing the national anthem or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, look, mate, I put the guitar to bed for a week, and I'm an assistant coach for my daughter's team, so I get pretty emotional, get a bit of white line fever on the sidelines. Thankfully, I'm the assistant coach and not the main coach, so I kind of bite my tongue a bit, but. No, look, it's a really great event. The kids love it, and you know what, mate? It keeps them off the iPad for 5 days, so it's not a bad thing, really.
Absolutely,
yeah, good thing.
And I'm spewing. I'm actually a bit spewing. I've got to be back. We head back tomorrow. I've got a couple of shows on the weekend and the next week. But I said to the missus, we should coordinate it next year, assuming they do the gather round again, to stick around for the gather round because it's as I say, they put together a pretty amazing thing here.
Yeah. Dave, we can't let you go without telling us a little bit about the excitement of the Bombers in Adelaide town right now. Big Johnny Baxter from
Well, I'll tell you.
Have they won the premiership yet?
No.
No.
It's blokes like you that like to blow it out of proportion. Look, they're all right. They've 2-1. I'll take that for the start of the season. I think they did incredibly well against Sydney, despite the last few minutes. Durham doesn't fumble the ball at half forward with 5 minutes to go. We might kick a goal and we're only 5 points down. Who knows what happens? So I think we're in that game and really showed something. Got opened up a fair bit though through the middle, so they've got a little bit of work there. But scrappy win on the weekend, and they got 2 wins, 1 loss, and they come up against a team that has shown that they're not bulletproof either this weekend. So who knows? Maybe the occasion Adelaide Oval on a Saturday night they'll pull something out of the hat. The Bombers. I'm hopeful anyway.
Absolutely, neutral territory they call it now, Dave.
Well, I don't know if Adelaide Oval in Adelaide against Port Adelaide during gather round is neutral territory, but
exactly, no chance.
It's 18v18, mate. That's the message I push with the kids on the basketball court. It's 5v5, mate. Get out there and just give it a crack.
Absolutely.
Are they still throwing human piss, the Port Adelaide fans, at the opposition players?
Well, I tell you what, I had not to bang on about the basketball, but I had one of the refs the other night. I noticed he had some musical notes.
God. Yeah.
He had some musical notes tattooed on his arm. So I had to ask him at the end of his very poorly refed game, I might add, in which we lost. I said to him, "What do those notes represent?" And he said, "Oh, we're big Port Adelaide fans. It's never tear us apart." And I shook my head and bloody walked off, mate.
I would have too.
Should have just corked him. You should have just given him a dead arm right in the tattoo just for being a dickhead.
This is true. Hey, boys, I'll let you go. It's been nice talking to you. I'm enjoying listening to the talk, and for what it's worth, I think 2 Metre Peter totally got harshly done by after the let off on the weekend to old mate from Richmond. There, it's a bit of a joke in my opinion. But hey, what do you do?
Yeah, spot on, Davey.
Yep.
Look after yourself, mate.
Here's what we call gather round. A parole officer's dream is what it's actually been told about now. So there you go. Well played, Johnny Baxter. And let's hope we hear this. Go Bombers.
See the Bombers fly up to win the premiership flag.
Just notice we've even had to put the words up there just in case you boys forgot them over the last couple of weeks.
Not bad,
Win one flag in 50-something, 60 years, and you're carrying on like a cockhead. Right, eh?
Oh, don't forget this
Unbelievable.
You had to mention the war, Lubby.
Let's all be honest. All we don't want to hear is this one. We don't want that.
I'll give you one worse one. The Carlton one.
Yes, absolutely. But for all you bottom dwellers out there in the AFL at the moment, you just never know when you hit Adelaide.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
That's Cuz out in Adelaide on a Saturday night.
You are on fire, Aaron. You are on fire, mate. You are
Not just
tight ship there, mate.
Not just Adelaide, mate.
Love it.
Well, apparently. But anyway.
Hey, I'll let you go, boys. It's good to talk to you. Thanks for having me, and we'll catch up with you soon, hopefully at a gig.
See you, Davey.
Friday night up in Castlemaine at the Shed Shaker. That's where you
Thank you, mate. Thanks for the plug, mate. I appreciate it. Go Bombers.
See you soon, mate.
Copper.
Bye.
See you, Davey.
Hey, good to have the great man joining us from Radelaide. Beautiful Radelaide.
Hey, good Johnny Baxter's call. Poor lost his power. That's fantastic.
He's a mad bomber from Little Faiths, so you must go and check out Little Faiths. But he loves his footy, as much as you boys. Anyone I've found that's a passionate Bomber is a super passionate Bomber. There's no half-hearted when you barrack for the Bombers. You're either in or you're completely off. And most Bombers don't have second teams either, like us lower tier teams of ages like Melbourne.
Is that because you had hope?
And lucky enough to grow up here during premiership eras. So
your second team is Plan B, right?
Yes. Sadly enough, Johnny Baxter was born in Adelaide. He's speaking from the truth in relation to a parole officer's dream. If you've ever been down Hindley Street or any of those, mate, it's.
I can only ask, is John speaking from experience then?
Yes, absolutely. He was smart enough to get out.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Not go back at the moment. All right, boys. We're trying to see if we can get Dan Brodie on. A couple of little technical glitches at his end, but we'll see if we can make it happen. If not, we'll give the album a pump anyway. But most importantly, Friday night up in Castlemaine, if you're up for the hour drive ish up to the Shed Shaker Brewery for a couple of quiet nectars and see Dave Cosma and the great man who's with him, Nick Carafa.
Nick Carafa. I was going to say Nick Carafa. I didn't know the name.
Thanks for hanging me there, boys.
No, I just
wasn't sure
where you were going. We knew you'd get there, mate. We knew you'd get there.
Yes, correct.
Well, while we're waiting for Bugger Lugs, are we doing tips?
Yeah,
like I want to do tips this week.
Let's try
Bugger Lugs.
Crack into round one.
I'm kind of excited now.
We've had a win. But let's go with this one. Adelaide Crows versus Melbourne to kick off tomorrow night.
You just go by dates, right? So tomorrow is Thursday, April 4th, so it must be it. Melbourne. I said Melbourne to come away with 2 wins in Adelaide last week. They won already, and I reckon they're playing the weaker South Australian team. Yeah, I think Melbourne get it done here comfortably again. I've got them by 5 goals. Not even relying on Petraka to dominate. Oliver's coming back to 2022 form, 21 form. They're going all right. And Van Ruin's an absolute machine. Van Ruin is a big difference. He's pretty much taken over what Jacko used to do for you in the premiership year, Luke Jackson. So I actually think between 2021 and now you've lost nothing.
Yeah. I think without sounding overconfident, I think we've actually replaced quite well in amongst that, and some players that are still down on some form are starting to gather a little bit. I'm not sure. I didn't really follow them too much in the preseason, so I'm not sure where they could catch up with. In relation to injuries and things like that. But we're back. We're back.
You get May back this week too.
Yeah, and the good news, Johnny's on fire tonight. He's just said Benny Brown's just started his run-up. So he's out in the ground warming up, Benny Brown, for tomorrow night. I'll tell you, one guy, I don't care how far he goes back, he slots him. That kick he banged from 50-odd out on that boundary. It wasn't kind of early in the game either. It was a great effort. He really gave it to they Port Adelaide.
You're late in the game of footy, you're either fatigued or you've got adrenaline. It's one or the other. So you either kick at 30 or you kick at 60. It's kind of one or the other, depending on how you're feeling in the game at the time.
Yep. We almost got Dan Brodie up then, but for some reason he might have a bit of the Rusty Brown scenarios where he couldn't get the devices.
There's a lot of scenarios there. Just
couldn't get the devices working. But let's see. Hopefully we can get him up shortly. But let's move on. Cuz, give me your tip, mate. Give me a tip.
I think, as Lovey said, I think Demons by 5. I think you've got one of the most informed players in the comp at the moment in Alex Neilborn, playing really good footy, really good role player, works up and back, and love the way he goes about it. And I think you've got your mojo back, mate, big time.
Yeah, look, I'm just hoping it continues and we don't give Adelaide a bit of a kickstart. But interesting enough, boys, they've named Stephen May. I'm not sure he can have a couple of cracked ribs and a couple other bits and pieces hurting and come up against Taylor Walker, who's going to absolutely give him a belting. But it'll be interesting the first few minutes, that's for sure. I'm excited to see how this one pans out. But hopefully the Demons by Let's not get them too close. 10 goals plus would be nice. But Port definitely gave them a run for their money. So there's no they're definitely going to be in and around the mark this year, Port. So we move on to Friday night special. 2 games Friday night. So we go early, 5 o'clock. Clock off work, nice and early. And Brisbane versus North.
Thank fuck this game's starting at 5:10.
Yeah, there's a reason it's 5:10, I think. Get it over and done with before the big stuff.
I'm going to say, if this was in Melbourne, I'd almost tip North Melbourne to win.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just Brisbane because it's at home. They're a mess at the moment. They are a mess, and it's good. They just haven't got enough players that are hungry enough for that contest at the moment. You see it. They were about half a pace off Collingwood nearly all night last week, and it just showed.
Yep.
And that they were playing a team that was in its own crisis mode type of thing, if you like, at Northern Threes. So I think, I think North will really run Brisbane here, to be honest. I think Brisbane win by about 3 goals in the end.
Yep.
Charlie will kick 6. That's it. That's the difference.
Righto. Cars, give us a tip.
I'll pick up one. It's in Norwood, mate, so it's not at home for Brisbane. And I actually think North will win it.
Jesus, there you go. There's my head going.
I actually think North can. I think North done it. I think North have shown enough in the games they've played. I actually think they can beat them.
I did say if it was in Melbourne.
No.
Well,
I'll stick to Brisbane just. I think they just get up.
Let's jump on the North train and try and get them a win. Who knows? I got North by a goal, so there we go. All right, let's go into the second game. The battle 8th versus 9th. Who would have thought this early in the season, Port Adelaide bouncing off a close loss to the Demons, and they want revenge quickly. But the Bombers, can they keep it going? That's the question.
Well,
so I'm on the Bombers. I'm on the Bombers, boys. Before you get going,
the way you've pumped this huddle up tonight, mate, it looks like a grand final preview. So, I'm gonna back us in. It's rare for me to have done that in the last few years. I'm gonna back us in. I'm gonna say we win by about 15 points. We get a couple back this week, which is nice. And Port aren't travelling that well at the moment themselves. I think we've got the capability of covering their forwards. Dave raised a really good point. They cut us up through the middle in the last couple of games. Where we were allowed it, we've been absolutely brutalised. I think, if we stop Port from wanting to do that, and Butters is the key. You lock down Butters as much as you can. I think you win the game. So I think we win by 15 points.
Yeah, look, I'm a bit the same. I think we'll win the game. Won't be by a big margin, couple of goals at most. I think be interesting to see how Dersma goes against his old side. Obviously, he knows how well they play. They know how he plays. I'll give us a chance. Like Parrish, second game under his belt. As Lovey said, a couple of blokes come back in. And I think last year over there and here we stuck. Try that again. We stood up against them pretty well and probably should have won both games. So I'll give us a chance. I think we win by 2 goals.
Yeah, well, I got the Bombers by 2 goals, so there you go. Clean sweep of the board. We're confident to roll it on for another week. Let's see. We could put another bomb in the bomber. Let's see. All right, we move on to Saturday night, boys. Eagles and Swans. 18th versus 5th of the Eagles. Any chance?
You could play this on the fucking moon. Sydney win by if Sydney don't win this by more than 80 points, they're shit. So Rusty, they've got to win by 80 plus, mate, for them to be legitimate here. The Eagles are an absolute abomination on the competition at the moment, and what they're an example of how the AFL has lost its complete focus of what it should truly be focusing on. Shut up, Berkey. No one likes Collingwood, so just whatever. I honestly think Sydney would win this, with 15 players in the ground.
Yep. I think Sydney, if everyone kicked only one leg, I think they'd still win, boys.
Yeah. What do you think, Spice Racks?
I really feel for West Coast, to be perfectly honest, but they've been good for many years, West Coast, and premiership wasn't that long ago for them. So just let them suffer a little bit longer for over there in WA. Cuz, what's your thoughts?
Could be the first 100-point loss for the Eagles for the year, I think. Meant to be good weather in Adelaide over the weekend, and I think just the way the Swans look, the loss they've had was probably will shock them back into sort of reality a bit, and I think they're tracking very well at the moment with their list, and they've still got players to come back into that list. And I just think, like you said, I'd love to see West Coast competitive, but it's actually not their kids who are letting them down. It's their more seasoned and experienced players, and I think Sydney are just a really good unit at the moment.
Yep. Can the new gun recruit, who has had more front page news than any other player, could he kick a goal after the siren to get the Eagles home? There you go. That's my call. It's my roughie for the round. Let's move on to Freo Carlton, boys. Freo Carlton, 4:20 on a Saturday. Terrible time slot, but what else would you do if you're sitting in Adelaide? So get along to the Dockers. I know you're a big Dockers fan, Lovey. You reckon they got a fair bit to offer. The question is, can they travel? I couldn't tell you the last time they won in Adelaide, although they're not playing an Adelaide team, obviously, with playing the Blues.
They're so I've got my geographies right this time. If this was in Perth, they would win this comfortably, I actually think. The fact that it's in neutral territory, I think the Dockers don't have, unfortunately, the cattle to cover both Mackay and Curnow, who are actually flying at the moment. Very few clubs actually do have that capability, hence why Carlton are considered legitimate contenders, sadly. If Freo win a lot of the football through the midfield, I think they do probably still win the game. Sarong's a freak. And Fife's doing more than what people probably think. He's actually quite effective as a third, fourth on baller now rather than being the big banana. So I think they've got a good mix. But, yeah, if Carlton get enough pill inside their 50, I just don't think the likes like Luke Ryan's got to be playing as a key tall. It's just not against the likes of Mackay and Curnow, trying to swap over with Alex Pearce on those two. It's not for me. I think Carlton probably win this by 15 points again, 15, 16.
Yep. I think I can't see it being that close, personally. I think the Blues get it done by 30 plus. Bit of a roughie, so love to know what that one is at the line. But there, anyway, let's see how we go. Then we kick
What
in.
about you? Oh, hang on. What about Bloodnuts and his tip?
Yes.
I actually think it could potentially be the game of the round. I think maybe a goal either way. So I'll go on the limb and say Freo.
Right. Righto. I hope you're writing all these down, Cuz, because we're going to test you later in the week.
I love it how you tell me that halfway through. Thank you. Yeah, beautiful.
All right, boys. We have overcome a massive technical difficulty here.
Oh, wow.
Here we
go.
go.
Had more technical issues than Glenn Curran and overridden them. This young man is one of our favourites. It was actually quite some time ago since he graced us with our screens. Back in episode 31. There you go.
God.
Which actually happened to be 3 years ago. 3 years of your life in the time that we'd rather forget.
Jesus, I was even wearing a tank top. What the fuck?
Yeah. Cuz, you looked a touch younger than you did 3 years ago.
3 years younger to be exact.
Correct. Who would have known?
I probably think it's 23 by the looks of the foot too.
Thank you, Alan. No, thank you. Let's just get down on iPhone.
Righto. So just in case let's get this done before we do have a couple of technical issues. But I do have to bring up this. If ever you're not sure who this great man is, he's probably one of the smoothest Cowboys around.
saw her again last night. She's playing pool and eating some potato chips. I like girls with long hair, dark eyes and pillowy lips. I saw her again near the lake where she had taken a trip. I like girls with short hair, blue eyes and babies on their hips. I can feel love closing in.
There you go. One of the smoothest cowboys around. And if you didn't know that young lady in the film clip there, that's Katie Bates, who's been on our show as well and also plays in Dan's band. So let's bring him up, the smoothest cowboy in town, Mr. Dan Brodie. Welcome back.
Hey, guys. Sorry. Hey.
That's all right, mate. We've got you loud and clear. Let's see how long we can keep you. We won't keep you too long, but we obviously want to touch on 3 long years, mate. Let's forget about how those 3 years happened, but it's awesome to have you back on, mate, chatting about life again. New music's out. There's an album out. There's new singles. You're out gigging like crazy. Welcome back, mate.
Thank you. Good to be back. That was quite a big 3 years.
Sure was. And you've kept that mo tapered beautifully in that period. It's great to see it, so many gigs, Dan. Obviously, you're playing a plethora of bands in amongst the country Americana scene, as well as your own. But any guy that's as confident to put out a single as this one, I'm the shit. He's really, and it's not only that, is it, Dan? It's this came with key tags. It came with badges.
Wow.
It even came with a calendar. I mean,
Where's the movie?
You've left nothing on the table here.
Those calendars, but it was worth a shot.
Right.
Absolutely. Look, welcome, mate. Firstly, congratulations on the new album that you've put out, The Ballad of Cowboy Dan. You've released, this is now your 4th single from this album that's just been released. An exciting time, mate, to put out new music and finally be out there being able to play it live again.
Yeah, I thought I'd squeeze one more single out, and I made a new music video for that. And I found some footage from 1969 of this square dancing instructional video, and and then I edited. I thought so. That was my brother's idea to find a bit of footage. So,
well played, Chris Brodie. But I've actually found one of our guys on this show, Glenn Curran. He features in this clip, believe it or not. Let's have a look.
What a surprise!
Spot out Cuz.
This would be good.
Whether the dances are called traditional, or Western, modern, or contemporary, all of them use a number of basic figures which can be incorporated into various square dances.
Here we go again, filled up with woe and suffering. I can't rely on you anymore. I'm just as messed up as I was before. I tell you I'm on the mend. People say I'm recovering. I've been in touch with my higher power. Made amends with all my friends and everybody who doubted. Here we go again. Bring out the violins. Play me a song from when we were young. Something about a boy and a girl, how it all went wrong. Be the next big thing. You should hear me sing. I could tell the roof of this town. I'll be flying high until I come down.
Incredibly smooth, Cuz.
Well, Thanks for the opportunity,
thought,
Dan. I've always wanted to be in a music video, mate, and I appreciate you giving me the chance, mate. Very nice of you to do that for me. Well, who was I? As you'll surely know which one I was, mate. You'll find one for me.
I thought you were the 35-year-old tall redhead.
Yeah, big chance. And Johnny Baxter chimes in with current Adelaide footage from the lead-up. So, obviously, Dan, Adelaide, great place. Obviously, embrace your music, mate. There's no such thing as the 60s back in Adelaide, mate. They're stuck in it.
That's funny.
Yes, Adelaide's finest. Gather round. You got any interest in footy? I know you're a big footy man, Dan. Behind the scenes, none.
No.
Perfect.
But I enjoy listening to you guys' enthusiasm.
Beautiful. Well played. Cuz, you must have a question for after 3 years. You must have a question for Dan Brodie.
Just quickly, Dan. Look, I'm feeling a bit of pressure now after all that. Seeing myself perform on a music video. Just a quick one, and I may have asked you this before, but I'll ask it again as to where you are now, as to where you were 3 years ago. How do you find what's gone on with the sort of COVID and the change that's sort of brought about to a lot of industries? How do you get inspiration now?
Well, I mean, I think it's made it like harder because the price of everything's gone up. Everything except for musician fees. There was a report this morning on the ABC about the average income for majority of musicians is $6,000 a year, which I'd agree with that. And so, it's very, very challenging at the moment. And I don't know. I think some sort of government initiatives, considering the amount of income that it generates for everybody surrounding the musicians, it would be great to get some more government support there.
I'm glad you touched on that, Dan. Having watched the potties over the years, you probably realise I'm a bit of the Eeyore of this particular group sometimes, and whether it's just corporate greed, politicians, or whatever. I was absolutely stunned. I read an article, and I heard from someone else too in the industry that musicians on the road to recovery from COVID, musicians are outside the top 100 in terms of being compensated back up to where they belong again in terms of industry. And I find the lack of support, particularly at the federal level, for live music and for venues to be given some form of, even if they're loans over a 15-year period, 10-year, whatever it is, get venues back up and going again so that we can have proper live music of all genres going back into where they were, because they were the lifeblood of what we did before COVID in terms of social gatherings and our culture and all the rest of it. Every other industry I can think of has been propped back up again to some degree by federal and state governments, and yet live music in particular just has suffered from it. So I found it fascinating. That was one of the things you mentioned. I think you could go harder if you wanted to. I know you probably don't want to, but mate, I've just found it astounding as to the lack of appreciation for live music from the federal government since COVID finished.
Yeah, it was actually okay while COVID was happening. I mean,
yeah, that's right. That's right. They should have kept that going because they knew it was a livelihood, and they knew it was something that everyone went to, and they decided, no, we're just not going to worry about it now. Everyone should be able to get back up on their own 2 feet, which I understand that. But when you inconsistently apply assistance, that's when it creates issues, and I think live music suffered unnecessarily from it.
Yeah, there's a system in France. I might have mentioned it before with you guys, but it's a system whereby if you can prove that you play a certain amount of shows per year, that you get a basic supplement. that's an acknowledgement of the, I guess, of the ups and down nature of the business, and but it's also acknowledging the contribution of the arts to society, and it's a huge contribution, as we know. You know, it's you know, it's just such a great thing for people's mental health and for their just life enjoyment. Going to a band, going to a pub to see a band, and I think that's such a great idea, and that keeps people in the game.
Do you guys have a lobby group? Do you have like a some form of I presume you do somehow, but I mean that to me sounds like just a common sense thing to do and to approach government with.
Not really. I mean, they're probably, you know, APRA is probably the closest thing we've got to a union. They're really great and supportive. You can call them any time as a songwriter, and that's probably more for songwriters. And Music Victoria is pretty good, and they do run workshops and things like that. But without major federal government funding, it's you know, it's not doesn't. I guess it's not really going to change a lot at the end of the day. So. I mean, another idea I saw bandied about recently was, you know, the $1 or $2 billion that Taylor Swift made that on those massive Live Nation shows. This is a UK idea that you take $1 or $2 off each ticket and pump it into the local industry.
Yep.
Which, you know, I think that's a good idea too.
Do you feel down at times? Do you feel down that it's a bit of the forgotten art, like sort of music and performing and that sort of stuff? Like you hear politicians talk about art all the time and grants here and that, but as I've all sort of said, and you're obviously doing what you do you feel you guys are forgotten a fair bit?
I think it'd probably be pretty across the board. I mean, I'd hate to be an actor. That'd be tough too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Actors don't get a lot either, and let's face it, it's the arts don't get a lot in general. So we talked about contributions. Dan, Brodie, you make a contribution to this brand quite nicely as one of the ambassadors for Heaps Normal. I hope that's continued. It was a little while ago, and I'm hoping that you are continuously an ambassador for Heaps Normal. If not, Heaps Normal, get back on this guy because he's a superstar.
No, I am, and they just sponsored my latest residency at the Gem, which was really good of them. And yeah, I'm still off the piss. I mean, it's very challenging though at times, particularly, you know, in music, is just surrounded by booze. I mean, and you know, I am in the business of selling booze. But I think Heaps Normal is great, and I think that particularly for musicians and gig goers, you know, they can go and have a few beers and then switch to a non-alcoholic beer and not lose their license. So yeah.
Well, that's always been the question with me, Dan. Do I start on the Heaps Normal or do I finish on the Heaps Normal?
I reckon off on them, and then, you know, you got a bit of, you can sort of fool yourself a bit that you're still drinking beer.
Yeah, once your taste buds have had the good stuff.
Yeah.
Lovely.
But
I was just going to say,
aside from everything I just said, I still remain an optimist, and I still really believe in it, music, and I still believe in myself, and I love doing it. I really love doing it. I love it more than I've ever loved it. And yeah, this residency we did at the Gem was 5 weeks, and I put a lot of time and effort and work into that. I tried to make it like I guess like a sort of rock for work type thing that they would have had in the late 80s, early 90s. Simpler times, I suppose. And I did fake tattoos and a cardboard cutout of myself, and just tried to make it a bit of fun. And I think that it worked really well. And yeah, I don't know, I gave people some joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell you what, if the music does falter, selling piss never fails. So good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this gig I want you boys to put in the diary. It's a little way out. It's in June. Lightning and Rhinestones. Just tell us a little bit about the lineup for this one, Dan. At
I haven't
Nemo
seen that
Music Hall.
poster. Haven't seen that poster. That looks good.
It's a bit of an old school Western style poster. That one.
Yeah.
Nemo.
Is it yours, Aaron? Is it yours?
No, it wasn't. Memo actually roll their gigs. There's
Okay.
a little GIF on the side of their website that they roll all their gigs that way now, which is kind of cool. So, but there's also an album or a cover art that's been done for the Lightning and Rhinestone. So we'll talk about that one as we get a little bit closer to it. But Dan, just tell us a little bit about the lineup, mate. Who can we expect? Memo, great room, great sound in there. What should we expect on the 15th of June?
I think it's Hunter and Jesse Lee's Bad Habits, and they've got a new album coming out. Their second album, and they're great. Myself with The Shadows of Love, which is with my brother Chris, which is awesome, and Katie Bates and Patrick Wilson and Mitch Power. I'm getting on guitar, and Ben Mastwick and his Millions, and I think that's all. Unless there's one other band playing.
Well, I can tell you that's plenty.
That's quality.
It's a big afternoon.
I love.
Obviously, you feature in a couple of those bands, so it's a big day for you. Yeah,
and I love Memo Music Hall. It's a great venue to play.
Sure is. Dinner and show. It must be. Look, we have to do a quick shout out to all the music venues that are doing it tough out there at the moment. They're not just music venues. Please try and get there during the week and have a counter meal or lunch or whatever you can. Try and make it your next meeting spot to get together with mates. Sadly, there's some pubs doing it tough. We're about to probably lose the Bendigo recently, it looks like, unless there's a last-minute save again. There's a long list. In fact, I read an article today in The Age saying there could be more come this time, next year. So, and before they've gone and done this big investigation into music and the music scene, that there'll be half a dozen venues fall over. So hopefully that's not the case. We've been able to save a couple in Melbourne. We can't save them all. But the most important way you can save a music venue is get out and see amazing artists like Dan Brodie. So please make sure you do. Dan, I'd really like to thank you for your time, mate. You're welcome anytime. Let's not make it 3 years between drinks here. This I just want to finish on this shot, mate. This is a one killer poster. If that doesn't have calendar for next year written all over it, there's the front, and this one is a great silhouette as well. So I know you make some of your own merch as well, which is really cool. Little hand screen printed, little touch of your own details. Look forward to seeing you at the next gig, mate. And most importantly, get up and say hi to Dan. And obviously you got the memo, Dan. We're all wearing hats tonight in tribute for Dan Brodie. No cowboy hats. Baseball hats tonight. So thanks for jumping on, Dan, and have a great week.
Lovely
Great to see you, Dan. Look after yourself, mate.
Take care.
Perfect having Dan Brodie on. Thanks for persevering with those technical issues, Dan, and coming on. He's an absolute star. And his brother, Chris Brodie, who's in Dallas Crane. Make sure you get out and check out him as well. Lucky enough that Chris got to play with Dan in one of the Sunday sessions as well. So let's finish off, boys, with the last space of footy. I don't think we got to the Bulldogs and the Cats. 7th versus 4th. Bulldogs probably a little bit further off than this, I think, on the ladder, as I understand it. But interesting enough, they get to play the Cats 7th versus 4th over on neutral territory. I bet you they're probably happy about that. Boys, how far the Cats, or are the Doggies a chance at all?
I actually give the Doggies a sneaky chance. Couple of goals, the Doggies, I'll go with.
Yep. Righto, Lovey, thoughts?
No, Cats are purring for me. They'll win by about 45 points.
Yep. Yeah. One thing about the Cats, they continuously invent and reinvent, and they do an incredible job at it. They've got some young kids there that I can tell you they're going to be in the top 50 to 100 players in the league in the next few years. So,
the other bonus they've got, just real quick, the other bonus they've got is there's a certain player that's come back from their premiership Didn't play that well last year, got a lot of injuries. But if he has a good year, it's just an absolute bonus. That's Parfitt.
Yeah.
Everyone's forgotten how good Parfitt actually was. So, and he's still only in his mid-20s. So he's got yards to go yet. I think he'll be all right.
Yep. Yeah, I reckon Cats by 40. There you go. They're probably 20 points better than anyone right now, in my opinion. But let's see. All right, let's move over to Sunday, Super Sunday. Two of your favourite teams, Lovey, Suns versus the Giants. What's going to happen here, mate? The Giants are on a mission.
Adelaide Hills, Mount Barker. Yeah, you could.
Where is that?
You might as well play that off in Kangaroo Island. I don't understand why those two teams are still in the competition. But anyway,
That's a
I
bit
think
hard.
they're shit. Fuck them. I actually think Gold Coast might actually win this one. I don't know why, because they're irrelevant. But yeah, I think Gold Coast might actually win this by a goal.
Yeah, right. Okay. Gold Coast by a goal. All right, let's mark that one down. That GC tattoo might turn on by the end of the year. Let's see. All right, Cuz.
Gold Coast by a goal. Alan Love. Just wrote that down.
Yep. What do you?
I actually think it'll be a lot closer than people think, but I think GWS will just get over the line. Couple of goals. Only because it's on mutual territory.
Yep. Toby Green, another one after the siren. They win by a point. GWS.
Wow.
So, hang on, Lovey. Can we just check? So, is there an option of a Gold Coast tattoo for you? Or just a GC would be even better? I'd be honoured if you got a GC tattoo, mate.
For what? What, for a win this weekend when I picked them?
I'm just asking.
There we go.
Yeah, I'd only get a tattoo if I thought that they were going to lose by 80 points, and then you would say to me, well, go get a tattoo of Gold Coast if Gold Coast actually won. The concept of this, Glenn, is this. Here we go. You'll get a hold of the concept of the tattoo bet every single year. You'll get there eventually. I'll tell you what, if Gold Coast make the finals this year, I'll get a tattoo of their stupid little logo below my right ankle bone, and it'll have 2024 finalists written underneath it.
Oh,
there you go.
That's fantastic.
Hang on. Oh, God. Dimmer, you there, mate? Yeah, it's on. Gold Coast to make the finals. Alan Love ankle tattoo.
20-cent piece, just underneath the right ankle bone. Just the Gold Coast symbol. Finalists 2024. Doesn't even have to be premiers.
No.
Don't
there.
need to win one. Just make it.
Just make it.
Yep, just make the finals.
Come on, Gold Coast Suns.
But, you heard it first, and it's not even the 1st of April. There you go, 3rd of April. We're in.
And they're irrelevant, so they won't get there.
Just one thing to note, boys. I think if the AFL is 100% serious about keeping these two teams, you can't play them out in Shit's Creek. Like, how have you not put them on Adelaide Oval, second game in for the day or something, and actually let them play? It's just ridiculous, to be honest.
Well, why are they fair income about those two clubs when they keep pumping millions upon millions of dollars just to keep them both afloat?
Yeah, and then playing.
Well, that's what they do.
They're failed markets. Why are they doing that? Yep. That money could go into Tasmania and have a 16-team comp. Happy days.
Now let's move on to the Richmond Tankers. I've renamed them because they're about to plummet after their injury woes in the last week. Eddie Zammit, he's not so confident come this week, to the point where he kindly declined to come on the show.
Declined. Jeepers.
Yeah. He's too busy tonight. Moving house, mind you. So, Eddie, we look forward to the opening housewarming party in the next few weeks to celebrate potentially a surprise Richmond victory. Who knows? But I don't think Richmond's going to get it done this time. I think we're a big chance for the Saints. Let's bring the Saints home, boys. 13th versus 11th, hopefully where these two teams potentially stay all year.
Yeah.
What do you got, Lovey?
I'm I'm kind of laughing at Richmond. They've just cost themselves a number 1 pick for sure after beating Sydney last week.
Yeah.
They've basically taken themselves out of the running to get the number 1 pick. That's down to 3 teams now. So for me, I think Richmond might accidentally win this game as well. I don't think St Kilda aren't travelling that well. I'm telling you, they're not travelling that great. And Richmond will be buoyed. They've got a ton of injuries, but they get Dusty Martin back this week. They get a couple of others, Grimes. So they might accidentally win another game, and all of a sudden find themselves only a game outside the top 8. Strange.
Yeah. Cuz, thoughts?
Look, I think the Saints, King back for the Saints. I know Dusty's a star and what he can do, but I think King back for the Saints. Look, the Saints kicked poorly last week and probably kept the Bombers in the game longer than what they should have. I think Saints kicked better this week. I think the Tigers, no Lynch, so Boulder's going to have to probably go forward. So that then is that robbing Peter to pay Paul. So I think the Saints will get it done, and I think comfortably 4 or 5 goals.
Boulder has to go forward, mate. You've got to kick goals to win the game.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yep. And quick shout out to our Canadian friend Robert Wine. Jumped on at 5 a.m. again, boys. Too. Geez, we've got a show here. If we've got fans jumping on at 5 a.m. Richmond rocks. Sadly, we're not talking about where he is in Canada. We're talking about the team in Australia, mate. So we've stolen one of yours for a couple of months over here with Kerry Goulet, and we wish him Gooch, the big Gooch, all the best with the kickoff of Melbourne Ice in the next couple of weeks. And, boys, we must get out to a Melbourne Ice game. Paul Rosen's actually in town as well, boys, so we'll organise a quiet lemonade because Paul doesn't drink, and we'll do that in the next couple of weeks before Rosie leaves us. He's here for a month, so we'll try and get along to a game if you boys
Before you touch on the last game, what are the chances of actually playing a game of ice hockey? I'd love to get out there and just snot one of them. Just get in there and just absolutely corn dog one of them. Just straight in, split them down the centre. The only thing I'm worried about is the only thing I'm actually worried about is I can't ice skate for shit. But that's probably an issue. But if someone pushes me from behind and just puts me straight line, then I'll just tuck in, and then we'll just see what happens.
Righto. Well, we're going to set this up. We're going to set this up beautifully because if we can make this happen, I think we probably want. Well, it's easy. It's pretty obvious. Cuz is obviously going to be in goals. So
knock me down with a feather.
Which is no surprise. No surprise. But this is what's got to happen. Our good friend Berkey actually has to come on the show once at least before we can make it happen. But he's the old bar or venue that used to be down in St Kilda called the St Moritz was known for its ice hockey and a bit of ballroom blitz. And Mark Burke, believe it or not, used to play in an ice hockey team at St Moritz. So there you go. We need to get Berkey on the show. We'll talk St Moritz and the good old days of St Moritz, and we'll set it up with Gooch, and we'll organise a bit of a slap shot special and see if we can give Cuz a nice little shiner to top his week off. So, Lovey, I know you.
How did I manage to end up in goal after Alan off to play the game? Was any reason why I ended up in the goal?
This way. We'll start with you in goals, Cuz, and then we'll see what happens. If you can fight your way out.
Nice.
Keep in mind, we've also got Lovey. Sorry, not Lovey. Lovey will be shooting bullets. Don't worry. We're going to have Paul Rosen potentially in goals as well, who was a Paralympian. Don't forget. And won a gold medal for Canada as a goalie. So if you can get one past Rosie, I think there's probably a little prize for the winner. We'll find that out. We'll have to get some sponsors on board. Who knows? Heaps Normal might come to the table.
Heaps Normal.
Given that Rosie doesn't drink, and we'll all toast a Heaps Normal for the event. But let's move to the last game because Berkey's kindly stayed up for us and thinks this is why we're all here to talk about the last game, which is quite
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Isn't it interesting that Berkey can get internet now but can't come on the show? So I'm still not certain how that's worked out. I'm going to have to go to his house and actually try and get on the show once just to prove him wrong. But he didn't get the hat memo. mind you.
That's because South Marine's like Adelaide. You're only allowed certain residents to have TVs on at once because otherwise the power's gone.
Doesn't live in South Marine, mate. Lives in a beautiful part of the world.
South Marine. He's out in, I think they call it some creek out that way.
Shit Creek. Okay.
Far enough.
Let's call it South Marine.
It's a beautiful part of the world out there.
I'm sure it is. It's a wonderful place.
Collingwood versus Hawthorn. One of your beloved teams, boys, being a Bombers. I don't know if you've ever given the Hawks any opportunities. You've always been quick to kick the Hawks in the guts, given that you've had plenty of hatred, not so total hatred, but it's been a massive rivalry, Essendon versus Hawthorn, let's face it.
It's hatred.
Let's call it hatred. Anyway, let's be honest. Look, the Hawks have got something. They're slowly building. I really hope Sam Mitchell never has any success personally. That's just a personal opinion, not members of the other, combined.
No, it is. It is.
Let's see if the Hawks can get it done, or do we just all jump on the pies and interestingly enough, the drug saga's over, so all the pies are back.
Yeah, look, I think go Cuz, get your spice rack talking.
I was just going to say quickly, be very interested with the events of the week, the comments that Laura Kane made and all the media's made. How many free kicks do we think Jack Ginnivan will get this week for hire with blokes like Maynard and those sort of blokes from the killing? None?
I don't reckon he'll get any. I don't reckon he'll
Not
get
a factor?
any. I don't reckon they'll do it.
Yeah. I think Collingwood, relatively easy, 5 or 6 goals, depending on the weather. And I think it's going to be nice. So, yeah, I'll go 10. Easy.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Collingwood needed another. They won last week, which was good for them, and I think the Hawthorn comes. As long as I don't take it for granted, I think Hawthorn coming to get back to 2 and 3 gets them back in the game a bit. So,
yep.
I think Collingwood win this pretty comfortably, and it's really interesting. I find it fascinating. Player managers and how stupid they are and how irrelevant they also are. I mean, would you not coach Jack Ginnivan to actually realise that if he had no one from the club, coaches, players or staff actually asking him to stay, maybe read between the lines, big fella, no one wanted you to stay. So you're better off just shutting your trap. You got to another club, they've put their arm around you, just move on, big boy, because crying over that spilt milk, you want a premiership with them, just be happy with that. 99.9% of people play footy don't get to do what he did. So I would think that either his player manager teaches him better on how to talk publicly, or he just picks up his bottom lip and moves on.
Wise words, mate. Wise words.
Absolutely. All right, boys. We might end it there. We've easily turned over an hour, heading towards an hour and a half, given that Dan Brodie was half an hour of technical glitches along the way, but really appreciate Dan and his time. What I'd love to see is people jump on danbrodie.com.au.
Jump on him.
Bandcamp, see if you can find a couple of tunes to gift to some people. But there's no doubt, Dan Brodie, you've won a few hearts tonight, mate. You're a great man. And
he's one sexy cowboy.
He's very cool dude.
He's one of the greats, and I must thank him and obviously yourself, Cuz, for spending your time on his film clip with "Here We Go Again." It's one of the greats. One of the greats. In fact, it's almost one of these.
Like the '89 Grand Final, like a dim sim. It's what the crowd come to see. Cuz's Classics.
And thanks to Davey Cosmo, who never ceases to amaze us with his talents. We didn't even give him a shout out, but he put together a lovely losers it and Cuz's Classic. So we thank him for that. Thanks for jumping on tonight too, Davey Cosmo. It's been a great night, boys. Thanks for catching up. Cuz, please turn around and don't escape out that little mouse trap.
Little bit.
Yeah, it's looking a hell of a lot like Prison Break.
Just draw some pictures for us next time, Glenn, on the walls. Just anything. draw a dick, do whatever. Just so
I'll
looks
mix it up
you're
the
in
next
room.
time. I'll go from another angle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
All right,
please.
boys.
Yeah, all right.
We're going to have a chat for 5 minutes off air, but here we go. And thank you for jumping on, boys. It's great to have a chat, break up the night and the week. And good luck to all the teams over there in Adelaide, and see if you can make it home alive.
Adelaide.
Good luck to those playing local footy first round this week too.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Get out amongst it. All right, boys. See you soon. And Dan Brodie, you are the shit.